So this past spring, my wife and I, we went down to Philadelphia. And while we were down there, we went to the Benjamin Franklin Museum. Let me get my slides out real quick. There we go. There we go. And so in the museum, they have on display his many inventions, his writings, achievements, so on and so forth. And they have these little TV stations that had cartoon dramatizations of events from his past. And one of the stories really stood out to me. He was about 7 years old, and he got his hands on a bit of extra money, or a few copper coins or whatever. And in all his wisdom, he knew exactly what he was going to do with the money. He was going to go down to the store, and he was going to buy himself some toys. So he grabbed the money, headed on down the street. As he's walking towards the store, he gets stopped by this enchanting sound. He's looking around, and he sees this little boy playing this whistle. And he thought to himself, I got to have that whistle. So he ran up to the boy and was like, please, I'll do whatever. I just got to have that whistle. I'll give you everything I have. The little boy was like, say no more. It's all yours. Ben was ecstatic. He ran home playing that whistle, and for days on end, he would just go up and down the house playing that whistle nonstop. Till one day, his cousins and his siblings found out about the deal that he made, and they went up to Ben. They're like, Ben, we don't know how to tell you this, but you kind of got played. You paid like 4 times what that whistle was worth. Do you know all the cool stuff you could have got with that money? But all you got was that stupid whistle. Ben was immediately embarrassed, frustrated, angry, upset. That whistle he was once so excited about now became a reminder of his stupid mistake. The deal he was so excited to share with people now became a point of contention. The value of his whistle totally changed. But that day stuck with him for the rest of his life. Anytime he was going to buy something, he would remind himself, hey, Ben, don't pay too much for that whistle. Then he began to use it metaphorically, right? He would meet a man, the kind of man to give in to every physical pleasure, not take the time to feed his mind and his spirit and things like that. Who would ultimately give in to their own physical ruin. And Ben would tell that guy, brethren, you're paying too much for that whistle. Or he would meet a beautiful woman, right? Great character, sweet temperament, like real wifey material. But then she goes and gets with some old ogre, some old good-for-nothing lowlife. And he'd be like, girl, what a pity. You paid too much for that whistle. In short, he said, that's small. In short, he said, I conceive that a great part of the miseries of mankind are brought upon them by the false estimates they have made of the value of things, and by their giving too much for their whistles. My sermon today is entitled, For What It's Worth. Whoa. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, I pray that you will be with me today, even though my methods might be unorthodox or unique, Lord. I pray that people will see you through me, Lord, and please sustain my voice. In Christ's name, amen. Now, when we talk about the concept of worth, there can be some misunderstanding, but it's pretty simple. Worth is essentially one thing being equivalent to another. So this apple is equivalent to this pear, or this apple is equivalent to 50 cents. Therefore, the apple is worth 50 cents. But embedded in the concept of worth is another more tricky concept, which is what people often struggle with, which is what Benjamin Franklin was alluding to, and that is the concept of value. How do you even determine that the apple and the 50 cents are equivalent to begin with? So what is value? The dictionary says that it's the regard that something is held to deserve, the importance, worth, or usefulness of something. Now, I don't know about you guys, but that's still kind of vague to me. I mean, how is value determined? Allow me to suggest that when it comes to worth, there are 2 distinct types of value. Now, I'm going to get my pastor on real quick and say, how many types of value are there? All right, you guys need some work on that. All right. So there are 2 distinct types of value, okay? There's intrinsic value and there's perceived value, right? So it's important that we all understand the difference between these two because everything I'm saying is based on these 2 things, all right? So intrinsic value, intrinsic meaning that it comes from within. It's natural, it's embedded. In the world of finance, it can often be referred to as the actual value. It's what's tangible about something. And then there's perceived value, which is much more fluid. It's subjective. It can change from situation to situation and from person to person. So let me give you an example to illustrate. A house could have $100,000 worth of materials, right? So the wood, the concrete, the bricks, all that stuff. It could take $50,000 worth of labor to actually build the house. So to keep it real simple, we'll say that the house costs $150,000. So the intrinsic value of the house is $150,000. But in reality, we value a house by a lot more than just what it takes to build it, right? What city is it in? What neighborhood? What are the plans for the area? Who built it? When was it built? What are the interest rates? How close are you to your neighbors? When we take all these variables into consideration, it could have the house being sold for, say, $450,000 because of its perceived value. So a $150,000 house in this location could be perceived as more valuable than a $150,000 house in that location. And this makes sense, right? We've all seen this before. But someone may ask, well, Nathan, if value can change so easily, and the exact same thing can be worth different amounts in different situations, then how do you know what something is really valued at? What is the right price for something? It's kind of a trick question. What is the right price for something? Whatever someone is willing to pay. That's it. I know it might sound a little provocative, I might come off like a Scrooge McDuck or something like that, but let me explain, okay? How much does this bottle of water cost? Shout out the number. All right, I'm hearing a lot of different numbers, so either none of you guys have ever bought water before, or there's more than one right answer, right? And of course, there's more than one right answer. If you go to Walmart, the right answer could be 65 cents. If you go to the Canadian Tire Center during a game or a concert, the right answer could be like $4. Now, people will see that $4 and be like, this is such a ripoff. I can get this exact same bottle of water for 65 cents. It's not worth this much. How many of you guys ever said something like this when you go to a concert, a carnival, Disneyland, the theater, something like this, right? It's not worth that much. Well, you're wrong. It is worth that much to somebody. That's why people are buying it. You see, the value of the water is not the intrinsic cost of the water. The circumstances, the markets, the customer are what determine its value. Most people aren't going to buy a $4 bottle of water at Walmart for a few different reasons. One, when you go to Walmart, you're usually buying it for future use. And we don't value the future as much as we value the present. When I'm at the CTC and I'm buying water, it's because I want to drink it right now, so I value it a lot more. Two, when you're at Walmart, you usually have options, and with each additional option, you value your first option less, right? So at Walmart, I can go Aquafina, I can go Dasani, I can go Fiji, I can go Voss. At the CTC, there is one type of water. Finally, at Walmart, you usually have time, and time gives you option. If I don't like what Walmart has, I can go to No Frills, I can go to Loblaws. CTC has one concession stand selling one type of water that you want right now. And this is why Walmart and the CTC charge differently. They're faced with completely different variables and circumstances that lead them to charge what they do. It's not based on the water in and of itself. Now, that was a little nugget that I just dropped there that we need to carry with us for the remainder of this thing, so I'm gonna repeat it, okay? The circumstances and the variables surrounding the water is what give it its perceived value and its retail price. It's not the intrinsic value of the water itself. So with a house or water, I think most of us can understand how value can dictate the price and how circumstances can dictate the value. Like how a house downtown will cost a lot more than the exact same house out in Cornwall, right? Or that you'd be willing to pay more for an ice-cold bottle of water when you've been playing in the sun all day versus when you're on a casual grocery shopping trip, right? But what about something that's more vague? Because life isn't always so clear. So I want to play a little game with you guys, get you participating, get you thinking a little bit. It's called the purse game. Now, ladies, don't get too excited. There are no prizes to be won in this game, but I have to draw on your years of experience in this field, okay? So I'm going to show you guys pictures of some women's purses, and y'all got to tell me how much they're worth. I know some of you guys have been training for this day for a long time, all right? So here we go. First up, so we have the Coach Swagger Carryall in Lacquer Rivets Pebble Leather. How much for this bag? How much? 500? 3? 500? 1,000? Let's go with Chelsea. 400. The answer is 595. Not bad. Not bad. Next up, Christian Siriano Women's Charlotte Chopper. How much is this? $29.99? 800? 650? $39.99. Let's go with this one. $44.99. All right. Next up, we have Philip Lim Soleil Large Leather Drawstring Hobo Bag. How much for the hobo bag? $1,000? $1,000? 2,000? 200? 1470. Not bad. Not bad for the hobo bag. All right. Next up, we have a suede messenger tote. A solid 4-star ratings. How much? $20? $30? $35? $32.94. Not bad. All right. Next up, what do you call this? Bad Gal Mishka? How much for this Bad Gal Mishka? How much? 800? $200? $1,500? $154.99. That's a big discount right there. And our last one, how much for this? $60? $55? You guys have been doing pretty good this far, but you guys are really off on this one. This is $1,900 for that purse right there. So what were some of the variables that impacted the value of these purses? Right? So we saw the material, right? So suede versus leather, faux leather, that caused us to value some purses over others. Then we saw things like season. We had Saks Fifth Avenue, then off Saks Fifth Avenue, which had previous inventory from other seasons. And we saw the huge discount that you got from previous seasons. Then you saw store. You guys unanimously thought that Old Navy would have cheaper purses than everywhere else. And then what was the big one? I heard you say it. The name, the brand. Brands are a fascinating thing. What is a brand? A brand is a name, term, design, symbol, or other feature that distinguishes one seller's product from those of another. So when you saw some of those names, when you saw some of those logos, without knowing anything else about the bag, without having even touched it, you were able to determine the value of it. You were able to impute the quality of it. When you saw gold trim on the Aldo bag, you presumed that it was fake gold. When you saw gold trim on the Louis Vuitton bag, you assumed that it was real gold. So because the name Louis Vuitton means something to you, and the bag is associated with that name, that bag thereby means something to you. So the value of the name has the power to change your perception of the product itself. When you thought that Louis Vuitton bag was from Aldo, you valued it much less than when you found out it was from Louis Vuitton. The bag never changed. It was always the same bag, but when the name changed, the perception changed, the value changed. So how do brands get their value? If you look at a brand name purse versus a knockoff purse, a counterfeit, the difference can be marginal or insignificant. In China, where a lot of brand name purses are manufactured, counterfeiting is a huge problem. You can get amazing counterfeits. I'm talking like the same material, made in the same factory, same production line, maybe even by the same worker. The only difference is that this set was made illegally, didn't have the same type of quality assurance and processes, versus this one that's official and certified. So the intrinsic value of the two purses, well, they're pretty much the same purse. But the perceived value between the real deal and the knockoff are worlds apart. So how do you get to that point where your name is worth more than what you tangibly are today, what you're actually worth today? The answer is something we call brand equity. This is my last definition, all right? So brand equity is a commercial value that derives from consumer perception of the brand name of a particular product rather than the product itself. All right, so the consumer perception rather than the product itself. If that sounds complicated, don't worry about it. Look at a company like Apple. We all know Apple, right? iPad, iPods, right? When they're releasing a new product, people don't even need to know what it is in order for them to value it. They don't even need to know what it is before they're lined up at the store. Yaffa, am I lying? Our resident Apple genius over here. The perceived value of the Apple brand is powerful enough to supersede the intrinsic value of whatever the product is. Last year, Google made some like $66 billion. Now, that's a lot of money. But their brand equity, their name alone, was valued at over $113 billion. Nearly double. How can something intangible, something you can't touch, something like a brand, something like your name, be valued more than what you're actually worth, than what you actually make today? How can the intrinsic value of these companies be so much less than their perceived value? It's the power of potential. Because Apple makes great products before, they have a high level of potential to make another great product. Because Louis Vuitton is associated with high fashion and helps shape styles and trends around the world, people associated with the rich and famous, people value what they make. It's aspirational, it's exclusive. So we just had a huge crash course on value. You guys are now value experts. You understand how value works. You understand the difference between intrinsic value versus perceived value, and how the exact same thing can have two very different perceived values. As experts now, I can hire you on as consultants because I got something I'm trying to figure out maybe you can help me with. How do you value yourself? Often we see ourselves as something that's sold at Walmart, right? There are so many other options out there. I'm not special, not exclusive, just like everyone else, not highly valued, not worth a premium price, just another cheap option. Have you ever noticed how differently people treat brand name things? Have you noticed that? Don't step on my shoes, you just scuffed my new Jordans, my limited editions. Don't put my purse down on the ground. This is a Michael Kors purse. You cannot put a Michael Kors purse on the ground. What is wrong with you? Did you just put regular unleaded gas in my car? Let me explain something to you. This is a Bugatti, okay? You cannot put regular unleaded gas in a Bugatti. How do you value yourself? Are you like those Jordans? Or do you allow yourself to be walked all over and mistreated? Are you like that Michael Kors purse? Do you allow yourself to go anywhere, be associated with anyone in any venue? Are you like that Bugatti? Do you let anything into your body, whether through your eyes, ears, mouth, or other places? Have mercy. How do you value yourself? If we're to look at the tangible elements of our lives, if we're to look at the intrinsic value of our lives, it might try to dictate that we're not worth much. Some of you might be sitting in the pews right now, looking at your situation, thinking that it says a lot about you, thinking that it defines who you are. You're there like, my job tells everyone that I don't make a lot of money. My neighborhood lets you know that I'm not a highly valued member of society. My education says that I can't speak on a lot of subject matters. My looks say that a lot of people won't find me attractive. My clothes let you know that you're not going to find me in the fanciest of places. The number of dates I get asked on let you know that I don't have much to offer. My grades say that I'm never going to be smart enough. My ball skills say I'll never make it to the NBA. My sickness tells everyone that I'm going to be on these medications for the rest of my life. My inability to have kids lets you know that I'll never be someone's biological mother. My inability to keep friends prevents people from getting to know me in the first place. My history of being abused could deceive you into thinking that my life is not worth much, but thank God, your value is not defined by these variables. You are more than what your circumstances tell you you are. You are more than. See, God did not pay based on your intrinsic value. He paid a premium. Not just a premium, but the supreme price based on your perceived value. The woman with the 2 mites, as read by my namesake. The woman with the 2 mites, what was her offering worth? When we look at the intrinsic value of it, it was only 2 mites, while the Pharisees had many fortunes. But God looks at the perceived value. The perceived value of our actions. The perceived value of our character. The perceived value of our life when we are associated with the brand name of Jesus Christ. How do you value yourself? I conceive that a great part of the miseries of mankind are brought upon them by the false estimates they have made of the value of things, and by their paying too much for their whistles. You got a cuddy, buddy? You're paying too much for that whistle. Are you caught up in pornography? You're paying too much for that whistle. Are you in an abusive relationship, physically, emotionally, financially? You're paying too much for that whistle. Do you stay up all night and choose not to get enough sleep? You're paying too much for that whistle. Do you consume whatever crosses your path? Are you quick-tempered? Do you gossip? Are you a jerk? You're paying too much for these whistles. How do you value yourself? The world might try and tell you that you're only worth your intrinsic value, that you're only worth 2 mites. Someone who's only worth 2 mites, they can eat whatever they want, they can sleep with whoever they want, they can speak however they want, they can carry themselves anyhow, and they never have to worry about paying too much for their whistles. Why? Because they're not worth anything to begin with. But God already paid your perceived value more than any purse, any car, any house. He didn't pay for you off the discount rack. He didn't get a deal because he bought us in bulk. He didn't pay like we're from last season. He didn't pay like we're fake, like we're counterfeit, like we're broken, like we're bitter, like we're sinful. Though we have been shaped in iniquity and conceived in sin, we have been set free. Your worth is not defined by your sinful nature. Your worth is not defined by your inadequacies. Your worth is not defined by your mistakes. Your worth has been redefined by Jesus Christ. Do you know how much your worth. Growing up, I had a tough time, especially in school. I feel like I didn't have teachers that were supportive or attentive to my needs. I hated school. To be honest, it scared me. It intimidated me. Life intimidated me. I used to look out at the world and think that I'll never be able to do what these people do. I'll never be smart enough. I'll never be capable enough to get through this stuff. I used to look at the books I would read at like 7, 8, 9. I'm like, I'm struggling to get through this. And all my classmates were just flying by me, reading all sorts of books. Like, I can't even get through this. And then I saw what they had to read in high school. I'm like, how on earth will I ever be able to get through that? And then I saw what they read in university. I'm like, I know I will never be able to do that. I didn't think I could do it. Growing up, I had a speech impediment that prevented me from saying a couple words. People used to make fun of my voice. You know, being a visible minority, I was often targeted and profiled in different ways. I was overweight. I was extremely self-conscious. I was shy. I hated to speak, hated drawing attention to myself. I really struggled with my sense of worth. As an example of how it would manifest itself in my day-to-day life, playing ball with my friends or my brother in our driveway and stuff, I was pretty good. So I decided to go out to the school team one year. Ended up being one of the top 2 players on the team. Wasn't a great team, but that's not the point. When I had to play in front of strangers, when I had to play in front of an audience, people that intimidated me, I would freeze up. I'd be terrified. I couldn't do the same type of things that I would do in my driveway. I couldn't. I handled the pressure. Anytime I'd get the ball, I'd pass it right away. Or I'd be in class and the teacher would ask a question. I would know the answer, but I wouldn't say anything because of the fear. I was scared of messing up. And God forbid she ever asked a question and I didn't know the answer. I'd just try to make myself unseen so she wouldn't pick on me and embarrass me in front of everybody. My circumstances and my experiences led me to believe that I was not worth much. I struggled all throughout elementary school, all throughout high school, up until the 2nd semester of grade 12. Well, what happened then? I got in the pool, I gave my life away, and I started the process of redefining my self-worth, a process that is still going on to this day. When I was made to believe that I was inferior, that I was only 2 mites, I believed it. I thought it. I spoke like it, and I became it. The biggest hurdle wasn't trying to convince God that I was worth more. It was trying to convince myself. Something that I still struggle with. And it's funny because today, if I were to tell somebody that I'm shy, when today I tell somebody that I'm not smart enough, I'm not capable enough, I can't do it, they just look at me and they tell me to shut up. You're just trying to get out of doing work. Because they don't see it. They don't see what I see. They don't see what I've been through. They don't feel how I felt. They don't understand the struggle. And that leaves me in awe of the transformative powers of Jesus Christ. Because I don't feel like I've changed. When I look in the mirror, I still see that same 10-year-old boy who was terrified of the world. But somewhere along the way, people started seeing me different. They started treating me different. They stopped seeing Walmart and started seeing Louis Vuitton. But it wasn't my brand they were seeing, it was God's. So today I can recognize that how I value myself might not be how other people value me. Thankfully, a lot of people value me more than I value myself. But that doesn't stop me from second-guessing myself sometimes. Even though people may value what I say, it doesn't stop me from not speaking up in situations where I wish I would have said something. It doesn't stop me from doubting myself, even though more and more people believe in me now. It doesn't stop me from having a false estimate of my worth and paying too much for my whistle from time to time. I generally don't like talking about myself too much. It makes me very, very uncomfortable. But I feel impressed to say this. That boy who was scared of school and thought he could never do it went on to earn 4 post-secondary degrees. That boy who didn't feel he would ever be smart enough, capable enough, be able to do anything like his peers, recently became the head of marketing. That boy whose biggest fear was being in the spotlight and public speaking is standing in front of you today. My intrinsic value says I'm not worth this much. My history deceives me into thinking that this would not be possible. I'm not worth this much. I shouldn't be here. I'm only 2 mites. I don't deserve this. But God saw value where I never did. I learned that fear does not come from the Lord. So you know where it comes from, right? So I thought to myself, why is Satan working so hard to keep me scared of these different aspects of my life? It turns out he was trying to scare me away from the very things that God was calling me towards. I had to learn to lean into my fears, to stop limiting myself to do what I was comfortable doing. I stopped being comfortable a long time ago. People say I'm a natural up here. I don't see that. This makes me physically sick to be up here. But I do it anyway because I felt the calling. And I know that if Satan is working this hard to make me this scared to be up here, then how dangerous I can be to him when I finally face those fears. When I look at where I've come from to where I am today, I know where he can take me. My faith, my value is not rooted in myself. It's in the God that has taken me this far. I know the misery that's brought upon from having a false estimate of my worth. And if you know that pain and you want to discover what you're really worth, what God values you at, I invite you to join me up here today. You know, I believe there is power in numbers, and when we as a community can redefine our value and stop selling ourselves short, stop passing on the self-esteem issues we have, stop passing on the self-hatred, we can do more than we ever thought imaginable. We can free ourselves of the self-doubt that clouds our judgment. We can free ourselves of the generational pain that afflicts so many of our families. We can lift ourselves up as a people and finally carry ourselves in God's image when we give ourselves away. I invite you to join me up here as we give ourselves away. If you know that pain and you want to feel and you want to know what you're truly valued at, what God values you at, I invite you up here right now as we give our lives away.
Give myself away so you can use me.
Give ourselves away.
Give myself away.
You've been deceived for so long.
I give myself away
So you can use me.
so you can use me. Give myself away.
You know the pain of a low self-esteem. If you know the pain of not having a high value, give yourself away.
Myself away so you can use me. Give myself away.
Give ourselves away, God.
Give
ourselves away.
away so you can use me. There I stand, Lord, my life is in your hands. Lord, I'm longing to see your desires revealed in me.
Give ourselves away.
Give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me.
Dear Heavenly Father, God, you see the people that are here before you today, God. You know the pain that we have been feeling for so long in our lives, God. You know how much we've sold ourselves short, and the pain that we've caused in our lives, the pain that we've caused in our families, our friends, in our church, God. You know that when we look in the mirror, that when we only see two mites, what it does to our self-esteem, what it does to our thoughts and to our tongues and to our character, God. We have been selling ourselves short for so long, doing so much damage, thinking that we're only two mites, not living up to our true potential. God, I pray that you will remove the shackles from our lives, remove the scales from our eyes, Lord, so that when we look in the mirror, we will see a child of the King, that when we look at each other, we will see children of the King, Lord, and we can do more in our lives than we ever thought imaginable. When we come together as a church, God, we believe so much more in our power, God, that we will not shoot each other down, and we could go out and really make a difference in this community and in this world, God, when we finally understand what we're truly valued at, how you value us, God. I pray that as we leave this place, Lord, that you will have implanted these thoughts in our minds and in our heart, God, so that when we are tempted to think that we're only worth two mites, that you will let us know that we are worth so much more, God. And as we work to give our lives away, we know that the devil will work extra hard to try and reinforce the thought that we're not worth much, and that we should behave and think and talk and carry ourselves like we're not worth much. God, but I pray that you will continue to show up in our lives, Lord, and that you will continue to work with us and help us to redefine our self-worth, so that when we can leave this place, we can truly have an impact on this society. We can truly understand what we're worth, and we can start carrying ourselves like we're children of the King. We can stop carrying ourselves like we're only two mites, God. I pray that as we give our lives away, that you will continue to keep us, Lord. In Christ's name.
Give my life away so you can use me. Give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me. Take my life as a living sacrifice. All my dreams, all my plans, Lord, I place them in your hands. Give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me. Give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me.
Bless the Lord. I will bless the Lord, oh my soul, and all that is within me.
His holy name. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, and all that is within me. Bless His holy name.
For He has done.
He has done great things. He has done great things. He has done great things. Bless His holy name. I will bless the Lord, oh my soul, and all that is within me. Bless His holy name. I will bless the Lord, oh my soul, and all that is within me. Bless His holy name. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, and all that is within me. Bless His holy